And before we go to our main story on airline pilot deaths, I want to bring you the latest that we're tracking from mission Chandrayaan 3. The crucial deboosting maneuver has just been completed. We can confirm to you here on 5 Live that the deboosting phase has just been successfully completed. The lander's orbit has reduced now in altitude from 163 kilometers when it separated from the propulsion module yesterday, and it is now 112 kilometers from the surface of the moon. The Chandrayaan lander, the Vikram lander, will be brought 24 kilometers near the moon on the 20th of August, and then on 23rd of August is when that soft landing will be executed by ISRO scientists on the south pole of the moon. Akshita Nandagopal, who's going to be in Bengaluru, by the way, for all our special coverage of Chandrayaan. She's been counting it down, speaking to all the experts and giving us an amazing nail-biting, blow-by-blow running commentary of this amazing feat, is with me. Akshita, the deboosting phase successfully completed a day after that, amazing separation of the launcher module from the Vikram lander. Explain to us what exactly happened today. In layperson's terms, it looks like that lander is getting closer and closer to the moon now.
And you can't imagine it getting any closer if you look at those pictures, Shiv, because it looks so up close and personal already to the moon. But imagine that these pictures were clicked over 100 kilometers away, 163 kilometers away from the moon. Now, in the last 2 hours, it's gotten closer to the moon. What essentially has happened and what, the ISRO scientists are referring to as deboosting. What that means is essentially lander Vikram, which by the way has a massive payload of about 1,700 kilos, is going on an elliptical orbit around the moon. So every once in a while an operation is conducted where it changes that orbit, goes that much closer to the moon. So from 163, it's become 112 to 113 kilometers. Next, on August 20th at 2 a.m., which means we're all going to be burning the midnight oil. At that time, you're going to be seeing the lander coming to the closest point of the moon, which is just about 24 kilometers. And that's when it gets to the closest point of the moon, Shiv. These pictures that we're showing right now, ISRO hasn't confirmed if this is the South Pole. But you get a sense of how fast really the lander right now is moving. There's one footage which is in the middle of the screens, which was on August 15th. So that was when lander Vikram was still part of the propulsion module. And in that you see, it veering past the moon essentially. And then 2 days later, the latest pictures that we're showing on the right of our screens, that's from yesterday. So that was from the 163 kilometers distance from the lunar surface. And these two pictures show you, what the moon looks like. It's beautiful. It's mesmerizing to say the least. You can see all of the craters, the lunar surface in great detail. Just imagine what it will look like, Shiv, come August 23rd. The ISRO scientists who we've spoken to on India Today maintain that everything is going as per plan. Everything is on schedule. So August 23rd at 5:45 p.m. So in 5 days from now on your show, Shiv, we're going to be talking about the soft landing of the lander Vikram on the moon.
Can't really wait for that. I'm wondering how the next 6 days are going to, go. Akshita and I are having sleepless nights. You can only imagine how the ISRO scientists are dealing with the stress, the tension, the anticipation, really. They've done all their work. And, no matter how many times one sees close-up images of the moon, and remember, it's since the 1960s the Earth has been seeing close-up images of the moon, but these are the newest, most detailed images of the moon, and it is courtesy an Indian spacecraft. There is so much to be proud of, a lot of science to be done. The next 6 days are going to be super exciting. Akshita is going to be there, like I said, in Bengaluru. She's going to be the lucky one on site with the scientists, with everyone there, waiting for that magical moment. Akshita, thanks so much for joining me on that deboosting phase, because that nail-biting countdown of India's moonshot has now officially begun. 6 days to go. The deboosting, like Akshita just mentioned, has concluded successfully. Picture perfect, textbook deboosting, part of the final operations before Chandrayaan 3. The Vikram lander gently lands on the surface of the moon in the South Pole. The lander orbit is now 112 kilometers from the moon. On the 19th of August, Chandrayaan will be only 24 kilometers away from the moon. ISRO on Thursday announced that the Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft's lander module has already separated successfully. We showed you those images as well. So everything is going like clockwork. Everything is on track. and we're all hoping for a perfect and successful landing 5 days from now. And now we shift focus to our main story here on 5 Live. In the last 3 days, in different parts of India and different parts of the world, 3 airline pilots in separate flights have died either while they were flying their aircraft or right before they were to begin flying an aircraft. 2 of those incidents happened here in Indian airspace. The deaths are, of course, unconnected. But social media and other media have been abuzz with very unsettling headlines like the one I just read out to you. 3 airline pilots in 3 days. What's going on? Is there something that we are missing? Is there something to worry about? Now, first, let me tell you about these 3 separate incidents. The first incident was a Qatar Airways pilot flying from Delhi to Doha, serving as an additional crew member. He collapsed in the passenger cabin and passed away. The second incident was on an Indigo flight from Nagpur to Mumbai. The pilot collapsed at the boarding gate just before the flight, and he was taken to a hospital. Tragically, he was brought dead. The third incident took place mid-air between Miami in the United States and Chile's capital Santiago in South America, when the pilot collapsed and lost consciousness only to pass away later. The aircraft, in fact, had to make an emergency landing in Panama. Well, the plane was safe, it was landed successfully, but the pilot was declared dead. 3 pilots in 3 days can sound very alarming at a time when passenger aviation is booming again in the wake of the COVID pandemic. Stories like these can add to anxieties of passengers. So it's very important to shine some light on these incidents, put out the facts, get an expert view on what all of this means, and answer some of those crucial questions that might be bothering you. Because let's face it, aviation is back, flying is back, and everyone needs to take flights. Now, here are some of the most common questions being asked when people see stories of this kind. Number 1, what happens if a pilot dies during a flight? Number 2, can the co-pilot fly and land the plane successfully and safely without the help of the main pilot? These are questions, even if you know the answers, these are questions people have. Number 3, are pilots extra burdened post-COVID? Have their schedules become even more stressful? Number 4, is more scrutiny required for pilot health and pilot schedules? Should they be given more rest and free time? Number 5, are airlines doing anything? Are they cognizant of this problem? Are they doing anything about pilot health? Now, let me share some more details with you about airline pilot stress factors. Remember, pilots are, it's a very glamorous profession. It looks very glamorous, but it is notoriously difficult and demanding. Let's just consider some of these facts. Number 1, very demanding workload, multiple flights, especially in the wake of the COVID pandemic. Pilots require high levels of alertness, sometimes across time zones if they're flying international. There's the burden of the safety of thousands of passengers across sectors that is constantly weighing on the minds of flying crew and pilots. Number 4, slow stress can build up and impact the health of pilots. It can give them cardiac problems, neurological problems, cognitive problems. There is this post-COVID pressure of added workload, which I'll come to in a minute, because I've been getting messages all of the last 1 hour from various pilots who know that I'm going to be doing this show, because we reached out to many of them, and they all have a fairly alarming story to tell. COVID aviation slump has added anxiety about job security, about whether their salaries are going to come on time. That has also added mental stress on pilots. Disrupted sleep cycles frequently impact cognitive functions. It can impact smoothness and accuracy of landings in certain extreme cases. Impairment of the ability to multitask. Your cognitive memory within the cockpit can be impaired as a result of lack of sleep and stress. So these are all very, very alarming sounding things especially in the wake of, a spate of pilot deaths that we're seeing. Poulomi Saha is with us. She covers civil aviation for us. She's been in touch with the airlines, the civil aviation regulator. Poulomi, it's always unfair to try and see if there is a pattern here, because each case is completely separate. In one of the cases we're talking about, the pilot died during a flight. He was a third crew member in the passenger cabin. The other pilot, the Indigo pilot, apparently died at the boarding gate before that flight. There are reports of the flight that happened from Miami to Chile where the pilot died, in fact, in the washroom while he was flying. It has basically called attention to the issue of pilot stress, which is certainly not something that can be ignored. What are you hearing about these cases, Poulomi?
Well, obviously, like you did point out, and that disclaimer needs to be clear, that there is no connection within these incidents. There is no pattern to be read into these incidents. But yes, the spotlight needs to be put on the issue of pilots, flying hours and whether they're getting enough rest. What about mental health and, are airlines providing for enough in order to, of course, create that awareness and, of course, for enough amount of counseling. Indian aviation, Shiv, as you mentioned, has been booming. Obviously, there is much more footfall, passenger traffic at our airports and now flying both domestically and internationally as well. And after after COVID, and when, of course, those restrictions were lifted and, aircraft took to the air again, there was what was called revenge flying. Everyone wanted to fly. Everyone wanted to get somewhere. So there's a lot of boom in the sector itself. But in the meantime, also, you've heard in the news how, there's been a lot of shake-up in the industry as well. SpiceJet has faced certain question marks that it has tried to answer. The DGCA put the scanner on SpiceJet, and as far as its operations were concerned, Go Air went bust. Akasa, of course, took off during this time. But there's a lot that's happening, and there's a lot of movement that's happening because pilots, of course, are very insecure about their jobs at this moment in terms of their salaries coming in on time as well. And these are some of the issues that they're dealing with. So the stress and anxiety levels are pretty high at this moment, and that spotlight that you've shown on that subject needs to be there.
Very, very true. Poulomi, thanks very much for getting us that update. It is something that cannot be left to chance. It needs urgent attention, and I will tell you why. Poulomi will update us more on this story going forward. Thanks for the moment, Poulomi. We've got some breaking news coming in now. We've got some breaking news on this very topic that has just landed that I want to share with you now. Okay, take a look at this alarming data that's just come in on pilot stress levels, which is precisely what I'm talking about. We've got our hands on documents and data suggesting that 181 pilots have been declared temporarily unfit by a single airline. We won't take that airline's name. Temporarily unfit by a single airline in the last 1 year. 181 pilots temporarily unfit by a single airline. One airline has declared 6 pilots permanently unfit to fly. Body fatigue and stress have been cited as key reasons for 181 pilots to be temporarily medically downgraded and banned from flying, and 6 pilots to be permanently derostered, and the reason are stress and bodily reasons. In fact, India Today's Nagarjun Dwarkanath, who's breaking this this very unsettling data, is with me live. Naga, since we began this broadcast, I've gotten messages from pilots from one particular airline, the same airline that you're talking about right now, and one of the airlines that was actually involved in one of those pilot deaths. And he says the salient aspects of what's going on need to be brought out. He's a serving pilot who's just texted me. He says physically extremely challenging rosters, sleepless for 2 consecutive nights, very, very fatiguing, especially with minimum stipulated rest periods, are taking a severe toll. 181 pilots temporarily, off flying duties, 6 permanently taken off. These are scary numbers, Naga. Put them into perspective for us.
Well, that is true, Shiv. If you can give me at least a couple of minutes to explain what exactly goes through a pilot life. This is not just to one particular airline. Across India, all the airlines, if you speak to the pilots off record, they talk to you about how stressful their job is. It all looks fancy on the outside, but the minimum rest period that they take is 15 to 16 hours from airport to airport. So the time they go back home, they sleep for 8 hours and again have to travel back to the airport. Remember, every airport in Indian metro city is at least an hour away. So again, you have to travel back, spend time with the family, and you have to take care of your physical health. So people end up going to the gym, they diet because you have to be medically fit. And again, after that, go back and fly 8 hours a day. It's a big body fatigue. If you do 4 sectors, for example, say you do Bangalore, Mumbai, Mumbai, Delhi, Delhi, Mumbai, Mumbai, Bangalore back. Trust me, after that 4th sector, you just want to hit the bed. You wouldn't want to talk to your family. You would not want to eat. You just want to go sleep. That's the body stress that one has to go through if you're doing a 4-sector day. And most likely the pilots are doing post-COVID almost 3 days, 4 days a week. They are doing 4 sectors a day and they are giving the minimal rest period. Legally, yes, minimal rest period is enough, but physically and mentally you need more rest is what pilots are talking about. The companies also will have to understand that you can't push every crew member to the brink and then ask them to work non-stop. This is what happens. It's no one speaks about it in mainstream society about what pilots go through, but definitely there's a stress factor and body fatigue. Once you fly a 4-sector, you'll realize how stressful and how fatigued the body will get post that sector.
This is unsettling, and that's the reason why it's important for people like Nagarjun, who, by the way, let me remind our viewers, is not just our Bangalore chief, but he's also a commercial pilot himself. He knows how to fly a plane, and he knows what that stress factor really means. Naga, thanks very much for adding that perspective to this breaking story here on 5 Live. And now I also want to get a serving expert pilot view on this extremely sensitive topic. Group Captain Shantanu Sangar is a commercial pilot. He has flown thousands of hours on a variety of different aircraft, and he knows what it means to be a pilot and have all of these stresses and strains on his, on his mind. Group Captain Sangar, thank you very much for your time, sir, on this topic, in which we believe it's important to bust certain myths and not to sensationalize, because there's a lot of sensationalization going on social media saying 3 pilots have died in a matter of 3 days, and it sounds very alarming for passengers. And yet, the issue of pilot stress is something that cannot be ignored, sir. Can you throw some light on how difficult it is on pilots? And is it true that post-COVID, those stress factors have actually increased?
Yes, good evening. Thanks for calling me on the show. I have a few points to cover. Firstly, it's the very unfortunate incidents and my condolences to the families. Yes, stress, fatigue is a silent killer. We must understand that. Sometimes you don't know that you are fatigued. And I will also say the stress and fatigue, both are highly individualistic. Everyone has his own thresholds. So we can't say that that meter works equally for everyone. That is one. I'm an ex-military pilot also. I've seen very stressful situations, having taken part in Kargil as well.
Yes.
So we have stayed up at night, long nights. We know what pressures are there because of staying up late. But civil aviation is a different story. There were a few questions which you flagged.
Yes.
One, are co-pilots experienced enough to land aircraft? And that is the main reason why it's a 2-person cockpit always.
Yes.
So the co-pilots are trained to land the aircraft. So that people should not worry. The airlines take into account this fact that there can be a pilot incapacitation. So the co-pilot is very well geared up to land the aircraft. That is first point. Second is about schedules. Yes, they are stressful schedules post-COVID. But at the same time, most of the companies that I have known allow their pilots to say no if they feel that they are overstressed or over-fatigued. And there are companies which have forms also which can be filled up. And you say that either I am fatigued or the crew is fatigued and we do not want to carry on with any flight. So that leeway is available with pilots. But the problem is of recognizing that issue. Sometimes it's to do with your own pride and ego as well, that I can handle it, I can do it. That, like I said, is a very individual matter. I would not like to comment on that. As far as the airlines are concerned, I'll say once again, airlines do have their own procedures in place to ensure whether your fatigue cycles are measured weekly, monthly, and yearly. And companies do make sure that you do not exceed them, and also give leeway to pilots to say no if they feel that they are over fatigued. So this is from my side.
Group Captain Sangar, also the issue of things like job security. We saw how aviation was completely paralyzed during COVID, and now there is a lot of revenge flying. There's a huge steep upswing in aviation. Everybody's flying. Everybody's getting onto flights like normal, even more than before the COVID period. What about mental factors, sir? Apart from physical stress and strain of the actual functions, things like job security, things like anxiety about whether there will be another lockdown and things will again get paralyzed once again. Do those things also play on the minds of pilots?
I will say that during the COVID period, the stress levels were definitely very high. A lot of pilots lost their jobs.
Yes.
There were salary cuts in a lot of companies. It happened all across the globe. It was not restricted to our country only.
Yes.
But at the same time, today the situation is different. Like you said, all the airlines are generally on the expansion phase. And here we are talking of all the pilots, that the three cases that you discussed are all captains who are well established. So I do not think that they would have had a stress in terms of job or salary under the present circumstances. I cannot rule out stress and fatigue, but anxiety to do with the job, especially with captains, I do not envisage. I personally feel that the insecurity in terms of jobs is more amongst the first officers than amongst the captains at the given stage, at this stage.
During a flight, Group Captain, and once again, I'd like you to, speak to a flying public out there who is consuming alarmist stories, sensationalizing, the possibility of this being a disaster the next time you fly, that the pilot becomes incapacitated, there is a real chance of something disastrous happening. What would you say to passengers out there, to calm them down and to assuage their sense of anxiety about flying? Because when they read these stories, they feel, oh my God, I didn't even know about this.
Firstly, when we talk of statistics, we must also talk of the number of flights which are taking place around the globe every day.
Absolutely.
So, like, these are three incidents that have happened across the globe. If you see the average, it's very minuscule. At the same time, I will not say that pilot incapacitation is totally ruled out. It can happen. And that is the reason why the co-pilots are trained to take control, take charge, and land the aircraft safely. And all airlines have this procedure in place. They are trained in the simulators, and a lot of training goes behind this. And it can happen either ways. It's not necessarily the captain. The co-pilot can also, have an incapacitation situation. So my message to the passengers will be that please understand that the system is in place with two pilots there to ensure the safety of passengers at all times. And all airlines are always concerned about their reputation and their pilots' health. So passengers getting unnecessarily bothered about this is not fair, because you must also look at the quantum of flying. It's not
absolutely.
3 incidents have happened over 30 sorties or 30 flights. If you look at the numbers, they are very, very large. So look at the percentage. And in all the cases, especially like in this particular case, one happened in the washroom, one was a case at the boarding gate, and only one happened during the flight. Just one thing I would like to add, though we are talking of pilots at the moment, this phenomena has been seen amongst actors, athletes as well. Cardiac arrest is something which no one can predict. And let me also put on record that we go through very stringent tests every year, all the pilots, and checked out for our heart, brain, all other functions in all capacities. So we are actually the fittest guys available.
Absolutely. And one final question, Group Captain, because you've been a military pilot, you've flown in conflict, so you know more than a thing or two about the stresses of aviation concerned, and you've seen both sides of aviation, both military and civil. Just as a matter of curiosity about your own example, sir, because stress and strain, like you rightly said, is highly individual. No two cases can be compared. Everyone reacts differently. How do you cope with the stress? Are there things that you do? Do you meditate? Do you stay fit? Do you hit the gym? What is your routine like, sir, to handle stress?
To handle stress, one of the things that you mentioned, yes, I do meditate. And from my very first day that I started flying in the military, I have had, as I call it, the box concept. That is, I compartmentalize keep all my worries of home back. And when I come home, I don't bring my work home. So I try to keep these two things totally separate. And the most important thing which I would like to mention is that for any pilot, whether it is military or the civil, the role of the family is very important in ensuring that the person is stress-free when he goes for flying.
Very, very valuable words. I'm sure all this resonates with all members of the pilot community, but also those who will be looking to take up flying, as well as those who are passengers. I'm thankful to you, Group Captain, and thank you for your service in Kargil and through your military career as well. We salute you, and the calm manner in which you've helped us bust some of those myths is very important, not just for us as a channel, but also our viewership, because they depend on us to put out the realistic picture of what others might be tempted to sensationalize. So I thank you very much, Group Captain Shantanu Sandal, for being with me here on India Today. Thank you. Also wanted to tell you about another story we've been tracking since late last evening, about a massive sextortion racket busted by the Bengaluru police yesterday. Now, the woman on your screen's name is Neha, or her name is Meher, we don't really know. She's a Mumbai model who, along with 3 others like her, allegedly has amassed over 35 lakh rupees from alleged sextortion activities. Over 50 men are believed to have fallen victim to this gang's manipulations and extortions. Her 3 associates have been nabbed, but the main piece of the puzzle, the mastermind, Meher or Neha, whatever her name is still out there and still on the run. Watch this exclusive report.
In pursuit of a female sextortionist, Bengaluru police are currently searching for this woman, Neha alias Meher. Originally from Maharashtra, the woman has been named in a complaint for allegedly blackmailing her victims. She allegedly targeted men through the Telegram messaging platform, lure them to her home, and orchestrating covert recordings of sexual encounters with the involvement of her male accomplices. This alleged criminal operation led by Neha, also known as Meher, has been active in Bengaluru for a year and a half. The men she allegedly ensnared were subsequently subject to blackmail. They were coerced into marriage, conversion to Islam, or extortion of funds. Failing compliance, they were threatened with the release of compromising videos on the internet. The case now registered in Bengaluru's Puttanhalli police station. Each of her victims reportedly succumbed to the extortion demands. One of the complainants disclosed that he was coerced into giving her up to 60,000. Her 3 accomplices, all from Karnataka, have been arrested. According to the police, the gang amassed over 35 lakh rupees from this extortion activities. Around 50 men are believed to have fallen victim to this gang's manipulation and extortion. Yet the mastermind behind this operation remains at large. The primary suspect, Neha alias Meher, is suspected to be evading capture somewhere in Mumbai. Bureau Report, India Today.
And our reporters in Bengaluru have just gotten access to the FIR in this Bengaluru sextortion scandal. shocking details of the manner in which these criminals carried out their work. The FIR says that this sextortion racket kingpin Meher, alias Neha, lured victims to her residence. The victims were assaulted and threatened by the male accused, and the victim then threatened with circumcision. Victims were then asked to pay 3 lakh rupees by the accused Meher, and that's where things turn a little murky. I want to go across to India today. Sagai Raj, who's gotten his hands on this FIR. Sagai, the details in the FIR that you've gotten first and exclusive access to are very, very scary. Tell us about those details, and also tell us what the police is saying about where this Meher is. Where is she hiding?
See, if you get access to this FIR, you'll definitely understand the kind of modus of operandi that these people have involved. They used to target the people who belongs to a different community. Their soft targets was a person who doesn't belong to an Islam community, and they used to take him to a house where these 3 accused used to record the video of when that accused girl, Meher, and the victim are in a compromised position. And later on, they barged inside the house, saying that, showing that they have come for the first time, and question him why he is inside. And later on, they threaten him, saying that they will parade him on the streets of JP Nagar because he has barged inside the house and raped the girl. And they will also make him get married to Meher. Since Meher is a Muslim, he had to circumcise and he had to get converted into Islam. And they also demand around 3 lakh rupees if you want to get away from this particular crime. And that's when he gives around 21,500 rupees via phone pay. And he says that he doesn't have money, he has a credit card at home. And they try to take him to his house to get the credit card. That's when he escapes and registers a police complaint where he has alleged that he was being thrashed, beaten up by all these 3 accused. And
Very, yeah.
And arrested these guys. That's when they revealed that they have extorted close to 35 lakh rupees.
So these three men have been arrested, but Meher, who is the kingpin, the centerpiece of this entire, this crime operation, is still at large. The police is hunting for her. India Today has that entire FIR. We'll break it down for you a little later as well in more detail here on Primetime. Sagai breaking that story first and exclusive. Thanks very much for that update, Sagai.
Tara Singh is back, and how? As nostalgic crowd flocks to theatres, Sunny's latest sees unprecedented rise.
तुझे तारा सिंह को पहचान दे नहीं? दुश्मनों ने पूछो तारा सिंह कौन है?
Be it weekend or weekdays. Gadar 2 smashes box office. The Sunny Mania returns. Our top focus at 5:30 p.m.
Even as Sunny Deol's Gadar 2 is receiving accolades across the country and really ringing it in at the box office, Sunny Deol is also drawing some flack on social media for being caught on camera, losing his cool and allegedly misbehaving with some of his fans. One of those videos which has gone totally viral is Sunny snapping at a fan who's trying to take a selfie at the airport while he was mobbed by fans requesting their favorite star's picture. The video further shows Sunny getting angry and snapping. The Gadar 2 actor lost his cool and said, "Lena photo." Take a look at this. Well, opinions on social media have remained heavily divided over the alleged misconduct by the Gadar 2 actor. While some call the behavior an arrogant gesture, others say that actors are entitled to their moods as well, and they can be tired and frustrated as well, and therefore nobody should be piling it on to Sunny Paji. Well, definitely not cool, but Sunny Deol is basking in the glory of the success of Gadar 2, and he's entitled to it. But it looks like amidst all the hoopla, Sunny Deol, who remember is also a Lok Sabha MP from Gurdaspur in Punjab, he's forgotten that he's also an elected representative from there. His constituents in Gurdaspur, Punjab are furious with him. Not only is there not a single cinema hall in Gurdaspur, if you can believe it, the district is currently underwater, battling historic floods in Punjab. Water from Himachal Pradesh has inundated low-lying areas, including Sunny Deol's constituency of Gurdaspur. The army and disaster response force have been pressed into action, but the MP from Gurdaspur, Sunny Deol, is missing in action because he's busy promoting his movie. No matter what you think of it, he's not doing anything wrong, but how does it look in the public eye to his constituents? While they're suffering, he's enjoying the success of his movie. The voters are now saying that electing Sunny Deol was a big mistake. And remember, elections are just around the corner. Well, much more about Gurdaspur and Gadar 2 and all the sunny shenanigans in our weekend special. We'll be having all that coverage for you from our entertainment team. But that's a wrap on 5 Live. I'll see you at the same time Monday.